Well, I'd like to welcome everybody tonight. I think this is, we said, our sixth in my series on what on earth is happening. And tonight, focusing on awakening to the calm. And we'll have another healing energy session towards the end of the hour. Awakening to calm. We're going to investigate a number of things. But first, of course, my disclaimer, nothing here has been evaluated by those wonderful people, FDA, FTC, FCC, and nothing I'm going to tell you about in this teleconference is intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. So this is purely educational. So I'm going to move forward here, and I'm just going to ask for everybody, if they're not muted, to please mute themselves. And we'll open the lines for questions in a little bit. So for those who were here last time, I went through a little bit about me. That's all my degrees, etc., and experience. Basically, I came from a medical family. My dad was a doctor. My mom was a nurse. I had 14 years of antibiotics, and around 28, 29 years old, I got very, very sick. Didn't understand what was happening. And so I discovered through that experience that it was the antibiotics and my mouth full of mercury that had caused me to have this systemic yeast infection, chronic fatigue, where I thought I literally was not going to survive it. So I discovered natural medicine. I then was working and being exposed to more toxins in the form of chemicals as a forensic chemist in a crime lab analyzing drugs. And that continued to worsen my health situation. Going through relationships were a bit challenging. So then I discovered through personal development seminars that not only what was happening to me physically and what I was taking in, but my emotions and my thoughts were creating a lot of the problem and things that I hadn't healed from my childhood. So I continued to explore those and discovered my spiritual path, which really opened me up now to this other dimension of myself that I had not really looked at before. I just accepted what I was told and followed through with that. And now it's like, wait a minute, I want to really have that personal connection with God, with my higher guidance, and develop that. And through that, I started doing dream work and have done that for 32 years. I've become an ordained cleric in my church. So I do worship services, sound and light services. I teach discussions on spiritual topics, and something I really, really enjoy. I love experiencing and discussing with other people their ideas and their thoughts and what have their experiences been in life. And that's why I'm so passionate about educating people and guiding them, especially to improve their overall sense of well-being. It involves our whole being, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, and we have to take all of those into consideration. I really truly believe we have the power to heal ourselves. We have this unlimited potential that we've been told. A lot of our conditioning is that we don't, and that we are limited and we live in an unabundant state. So how can we transcend these outer circumstances, grow through our experience, and create the life we want? And that's part of what I really feel I'm here to do, especially in these times, is to help people heal so that they can really take their power back and become more confident and think more critically about what's real for them, what's true for them, what is programming and what isn't programming. So today we're going to go over a little bit on the updates on the COVID-19, including the testing and some of the things that are happening there, and what is our opportunity. We've all come here to experience this on some level as spiritual beings, I believe, and we've been put in this pause state, this pattern interrupt, and it's giving us an opportunity to, if we choose, to re-examine our lives and look at what's working and what isn't working, both on a personal level, in my immediate environment, and then on a global level. So how do we reset to move forward into what this new reality is going to be? And how do we become proactive and create that reality? Because we can allow other people to make the choices and the decisions. And I think that could take us down a very dark road, or we can empower ourselves through knowledge, critical thinking, and making choices at a higher vibrational level, bringing divine love into the picture and move us into a very bright future that is abundant and help solve these problems we've created on the planet. So we're going to look at that third dimension of sensing. Everything we take in, whether it's heat, cold, by our touch, by our smell, by our hearing, through our taste, and our sense of intuition. Now, those are all part of our sensing dimension. So that's a major form of energy input that we take from the world. Right now, we can be in two states. We can either be overstimulated by everything that's happening, or we can have withdrawn from letting that sensory input because it is overwhelming during this crisis. We're going to explore what's wellness, silence, and being alone, and look at a self-care practice of how just relaxing our eyes and a process there, we can actually help reduce that stress through that sense. We'll be using a couple senses in that. Then we're going to look at our 11th dimension of finding meaning. So many people, this is been our critical search. Who are we? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And right now we're in a situation where we're reassessing, or have the opportunity to reassess our life meaning in this current transformation that we're in. And are we listening to our inner voice or not? And if not, how do I learn to start tuning into that? Of course, we've heard a lot about gratitude and journaling gratitude, so we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about that. We'll have the healing session to release that which is no longer serving our highest good. So you can have the intent for what you want to be released, or those things that just don't serve you, allow that to happen. And exploring again our next steps so that we're maintaining and strengthening our immune system through this situation. Becoming more aware, really right now, this is crucial. We have to become aware of ourselves. You know, what am I doing that's conscious, what's unconscious, what has been put in there by other people? The more I dig in deep, I'm like, delve into these things, I'm discovering so many programs that I was not aware of that are not necessarily based in reality. They're based on a created reality that certain people wanted us to believe in. So I have to stand back and say, well, what's true for me? Do I believe in that? What's really behind it? Let me gather that information and data, and then I can make my own decision moving forward. So that's crucial in moving forward in the world right now. And how do I participate in creating that deeper understanding of myself? So looking a little bit at some of the updates for COVID-19, we're hearing this testing that is going on and everybody is testing positive. What they are testing is RNA. We have DNA and we have RNA, and RNA is used to create proteins in the body. The RNA is not the virus. So what they are taking on these swabs is not the virus, it's not the infectious and transmissible agent. It's a remnant which could or could not be from this virus. If you have the RNA from this virus and you inject it into somebody, then they can get the disease. It does not live in the air, it's not blown about. So the testing is not considerably accurate as far as I'm concerned. Maybe 30 to 40% may have the actual virus. There are lots of false positives and false negatives. Anyone who has received a flu vaccine, especially the covalent or the trivalent flu vaccines in the past, will test positive for COVID-19. And there's a lot more behind this, and I'm still delving into it to be able to explain it more fully. I'm going to go into some of the work by Dr. Mikovits, and she's written a book called The Plague and I'll talk a little bit more about her in a slide or two ahead. But the laboratories, when they do a test, they have to provide this information on the test to the patient when they get the report. And this is FDA guidance. This test has not been reviewed by the FDA. They rush these tests out. They have not been fully gone through all that they need to really make sure they're accurate. Negative results don't rule out that you've gotten the SARS-CoV-2, which is another name for the COVID-19 infection, particularly in those who have had contact with the virus. So there's follow-up testing that should be considered to rule out infection in these individuals. The results from the antibody testing, which is the next test from this RNA testing, the PCR polymerase chain reaction that they're using, which was never designed to be diagnostic. And now these are the antibody antigen tests, which are looking to see if you've been exposed and had mounted a reaction to the virus by forming antibodies, which are called IgG, IgM. There's various initials for the immunoglobulins they test. But these results should not be used as a sole basis to diagnose or exclude the SARS-CoV-2 infection, or to let you know what your infection status is. Positive results may be due to past or present infection with non-SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus strains, which could be any other cold or flu, such as the coronavirus HKU1, NL63. There's a whole bunch of them there. So if you've had a flu shot, you would most likely test positive. The tests are not considerably accurate, and there's even questions as, is this truly a viral infection? And I will give you some references because I'm still working on getting through those videos on Dr. Mikovits, who has done research on these retroviruses, including HIV and Ebola, and discovered some very fascinating things. And the viruses that can pass on cancer and other diseases, and that vaccinations are involved in the transmission of these things. So the COVID-19 isn't necessarily because we've been exposed to COVID-19, it's because we've been being exposed to a lot of viruses and fragments of tissues in the vaccinations, which then are activated when something else comes out, or we're toxic from Roundup exposure, from the 5G being turned on, other things that suppress our immune system, the stress, and then our immune system can't respond to these old things that have been being held down, and now they manifest. So some interesting links there, outofshadows.org. Wonderful look at our news media. This was from a gentleman who was a stunt actor in Hollywood, and the connections that run deep between the programming through our media, through our movies, and the connection to CIA and Hollywood. And it's just a fascinating story. So I would look at it and take it or leave it, but it opened my eyes on a number of things I didn't know and understand. The other location is the www.advancedmedicine.com. Go and you can join for free and use the invitation code 3772. Dr. Buttar has the videos up there that are for free on the coronavirus conspiracy, ? What's really going on? And he now has, through April 30th, a 9-part docuseries on vaccinations where he interviews Dr. Mikovits. And then her book is plaguethebook.com. So I would recommend, if you have time, since you're at home, this is a great time to be looking at some of this and make some of your own decisions. I think one of the things that came out in the past week or so was that the Surgeon General was now saying we are no longer looking at the Bill Gates, CDC, and WHO data that they took from a simulation they created for the numbers regarding the coronavirus. And we're looking at real data now. The problem is in the hospitals, the CDC has mandated that the death certificates be changed to COVID-19, whether they've documented COVID-19 or not. So pretty much anyone who's dying in the hospital, especially of heart and lung disease, Alzheimer's disease, is going to get marked as a COVID-19 patient. So what do the numbers really mean? They're not accurate. We don't know what the true picture is. And just looking at this quote from the first Director General of the World Health Organization, he said, to achieve world government, which is the goal of the globalists, which Dr. Fauci, Gates, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, a lot of the big names throughout our government and the world, it is necessary to remove from the minds of men their individualism, their loyalty to family traditions, their national patriotism, and religious dogmas. So this is what the WHO was founded on. Is that where I want to go? No. Spiritual freedom, my civil liberties, my freedoms are really crucial, but we're allowing those to be taken away. And so when we start looking at the science behind all this, it's not holding up to what they're telling us is happening. So it's really important to start coming out of the fog, because there are a lot of things that we're being bombarded with that are programming. You know, if you sit and watch the news any length of time, every single news station has the same exact wording when they want to get something out. And we are no longer have freedom of the press. It is hard to find real information. They use videos that have been used for the same situation in different countries, ICUs, which aren't, how can you have the same picture, the same people, one in Italy and one in New York? So for me, I want to get people to thinking for themselves and making their own decisions, and whatever you choose is great, but at least choose it based on information, not just what you've been told is true. So Dr. Mikovits, she has quite an impressive experience. She has her PhD in biochemistry and molecular biology from George Washington University. In her first 20 years, she went from an entry-level lab tech to become the director of the Lab of Antiviral Drug Mechanisms at the National Cancer Institute, before she went on to direct the cancer biology program at Epigenics Pharmaceuticals. So she was well entrenched in this. And she worked especially with patients at first with chronic fatigue and autism, and she developed the first Neuroimmune Institute, and was really looking at what can we do to support the natural immune system. She has over 50 published papers. But what happened is she discovered that through her research on these retroviruses, that these constituents in the vaccines were actually causing autism. And she was speaking the truth about the fraudulent use of the government's research money, the marketing of inaccurate retrovirus tests, the Medicare fraud, the contaminated blood supply, which is contributing to the problem in the vaccines, and the harm that was associated with them and their schedule of administration. Because of this, they told her she needed to be quiet, or her life was threatened, and they were going to end her career. All of which happened. She was fraudulently charged and arrested, held without a warrant, and they destroyed her career. They put a 5-year gag order on her, which is now up, so she can actually come out and talk about these things. So there's a lot more related to her. I'm still researching it, but they've never been able to make a vaccine from a coronavirus, which causes like the common cold. So she can say pandemics are caused not specifically from the pathogen, because if it was from the pathogen, everybody who got exposed to it would get the disease, and that is not the case. So the idea of keeping masks on, she worked in a in the laboratory where she was double gloved, double masked, gowned, complete protection, working with a very contagious, it was a mouse retrovirus, and she still got exposure to it. She developed her own antibodies naturally, didn't need other treatment, but the gloves, the masks were doing nothing. This isn't really about protecting us, because if these are small fragments, they could get through a mask. There is more behind it. So getting people afraid and starting to attack each other because you're going to infect me, you're going to kill me. If you haven't watched the advertisements in big yellow that, you know, who are you going to be responsible for killing today because you didn't wear your mask, you didn't do your social isolation, you didn't stay home. This has all been created. Not to say that the coronavirus, whatever this situation is, there is something affecting the health of a lot of people, but there are ways to deal with it and to handle it. But vaccinations are looking to be one of the causative factors, along with the toxicity mentioned before of like coronavirus, the Roundup and the 5G and everything else we've been exposed to in our lifetimes. If you've gotten a flu shot, you're 46% more likely to get the coronavirus, so the COVID-19. So we can go into the fear or not. What is our opportunity here? We've agreed on some level to partake and to participate and to be present in this. And I think it is offering us a wonderful opportunity. There is a silver lining. We are seeing people asking for help and getting help. We may be getting what we need, but not what we asked for. But it is forcing us to stop our lives long enough to have time to evaluate. Whether we take advantage of that or not is the individual. You can sit all day and stream TV shows, which are, again, more programming, or you can actually take that time to examine your life, your beliefs, and what's going on, and find out, you know, where do you want to go from here? The pause button has been hit. So take this moment to reflect. How are you going to use this time that you're not moving so fast? We're not worried about what's the next thing. We're worried about what is our future. But if we can step out of the fear and just be in this present moment, how can I use this to my best advantage? Reality is very changeable. And as we see, it can change on a dime. This happened overnight and it uprooted our lives and turned us topsy-turvy in an instant. So how can we now take that and change it to the good we want to see in the world? Harness that love and joy instead of the fear. What reality do we want to create? What do we want to focus on for our future? Take our personal power back. That doesn't mean we have to go out and protest, but if it's appropriate, then that may be what you're called to do. How do we make the ordinary extraordinary? Our potential really is unlimited. How do we tap into that? This is an opportunity to explore that depth, to become more aware. What are my true thoughts and feelings? Are they mine? Where did they come from? You know, can I relate it back to something in my childhood? I know it was the Jesuits, and there's some other people that were like, if I get a boy before 7, I've got him for life. Because if you can program a child, especially between the years of 1 and 5, to believe what you want them to believe, you have them for the rest of your life, because most people aren't going to be able to extricate themselves from that system they learned to be their reality and their truth. We can do that now, especially with the energy healing. You can choose to do that if you want. Many of you have already been doing that work, but we can rise above it. And we're focusing on treating these people through just this lens of coronavirus. So if that's all you're looking for, that's all you're going to find. A couple of the doctors that are treating this says it doesn't look like a viral infection. It looks like a hypoxic event, injury, or illness, which is a lack of oxygen. There's some kind of damage to the tissues from lack of oxygen. So there's more going on than we're aware of. How do we align and orient ourselves so we can rise above and gain this greater awareness and consciousness? This pattern interrupt was necessary, else we were going to continue down the road we were going, and it was not a pretty picture at the end of that road. Now we have time to say, let's take that, like I said, that power back and go forward. So I thought this was an interesting, what's the definition of corona? The sun's corona is normally visible only during a total solar eclipse, when it is seen as an irregularly shaped, pearly glow surrounding the darkened disk of the moon. Only visible during eclipse, it's a state of darkness. Like reality, it is always changing and is surrounded by darkness. Mystics were saying after the 2012 gate, which opened the world for the first time in 25,000 years, tipped the scale from darkness to more light. Everything is being brought to light right now. This is uncovering things that have been hidden. We've seen Jeffrey Epstein with the pedophile rings. We're seeing things happening through a lot of people in Hollywood. Dr. Fauci and what they've been doing is starting to come to light. Funding he did for the research for this COVID type 19 virus. So truths are starting to come up, and they're still trying to suppress them, but we have time now. There's more light coming in. The more we focus on ourselves and heal ourselves, we can be greater channels of light. So nothing gets transformed until it is recognized, seen, and felt through. That means we have to, within ourselves, recognize it, see it, feel those emotions so we can release them and heal. So our 12 core operating systems, I don't know if that, there we go, 12 core functions. Today, last session we talked about feeling and thinking. Today we're going to talk about 3, the sensing and the finding meaning. Those seem to be very relevant in the moment. So these are all the ways that we are functioning every single day, whether we're conscious of it or not. So what are we seeing in our consciousness above the iceberg model, above the water? It's what we're aware of. What's hiding below that surface? That's what this program does, is you go into that depth in these 12 dimensions and start to uncover these programs, how we're operating unconsciously, so that you can make changes to bring it up to awareness and consciousness, move you where you want to go. The 3rd dimension is sensing, and this information is received from our environment and channeled through our senses. Now we have our touch, we have our seeing, our hearing, our smelling, our taste, but we also have our intuitive sense and our higher senses. And that's part of this dimension also. These are crucial for our protection and survival, and have been throughout history. It's our most basic form of communication. It's how we interact with our world. So when have a lot of sensory information coming in, such as we do in this current situation, with all the news, all the fear, seeing all these images and hearing these stories, we can go into overstimulation, which puts us into anxiety and fear, or we can shut down and withdraw and put the, basically put the blinders on. But our sensing are really marvelous instruments, but we need to be vigilant with them to keep them operating in top shape. So I'm going to have you take a moment now and look at this statement, because being pulled in, so many of us are home alone. Many of us are with family and kids and may wish we had more silence. But on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 or 0 being I'm not comfortable with silence at all, with to 10, I love my silence, I find it calming, I can go within, Where do you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? I am comfortable with silence. So just note that somewhere, if it's written down or in your head. And then on a scale of 0 to 10, as far as motivation, is this an area of your life, if you found that you're very uncomfortable with silence, is it something you want to change? Or you really just love silence all the time? Is it something you think you need to balance more in your life so you can balance the input coming in and balance the time with silence? So on a scale of 0 to 10 on motivation to change it, where would you put yourself? Many of us can be quite uneasy when we're confronted with a lack of hearing, auditory input, because it may force us to go within. We think, we feel, we're touching deeper parts of ourselves. And if there's pain there, things that haven't been resolved, or thoughts that are not positive and pleasing to you, then that can be very uncomfortable. And so what do? We keep the TV going 24/7. We've got the computer on. We've got Alexa now. We can talk to Alexa, and she's responding. You have all these ways to keep ourselves constantly stimulated. But learning to be comfortable with silence is learning to be comfortable being alone with yourself. And this can be one of the healthiest habits that you can cultivate. And I find for my spiritual practice, that's really important, because when I grew up, praying was asking God for everything that I wanted to happen. And in reality, true prayer is listening. So you have to be silent, you have to be calm, you have to go within to hear the voice of God. And that's when you hear it, it's in your heart. You hear your heart speak, and you get past the distractions of the mind and the emotions. So one thing you can do is, as you're going through your day, watch how you're feeling. And when you're silent, not silent, or you're needing more silence, pay attention to that. If you experience silence on purpose or accidentally, how did that feel? And it's great to journal these things down and take notes, because I find 5 minutes from now, I'm not going to remember what I just thought about now. So by keeping a journal, it helps me in my awareness to say, oh yeah, that's what I was feeling. I would really like to have had someone to talk to at that time, because these thoughts or these emotions came up. So how can you cultivate a more loving relationship with silence and with yourself? James Carroll said, when real silence is dared, we come very close to ourselves and to the deep center of the world. So in practicing to become comfortable with silence, one way to do that is first become aware of all the sounds around you. And that's a practice you can do, is just take a moment, close your eyes, take a deep breath, relax, and just listen. I can hear the humming of the refrigerator. I have a timer on my light and I can hear it clicking away. Can you hear anybody outside? Are your neighbors making noise? How many different sounds can you hear? So in actuality, we're not really in silence, because there are noises all around us. But by becoming aware of the noises can help you to start to go within. And you can use those sounds to help you tune out the rest of the world by focusing in on the sound. Or you can use a mantra or word. I love the word Hugh. Talk about that later. But you can use any one you're comfortable with and sing that. And a lot of meditative practices use that. So if you have a chat box and you have any comments you want to make, would you like to raise your hand? Or I can unmute everybody. All right, I'm not. Hi, do you have a comment? All right, I have a couple people unmuted. Anyone have a comment? Question at this point?
Well, Dr. Maureen, it's Barbara.
Hi,
And
Barbara.
I'm pretty comfortable with silence. There's part of me that's saying, you know, I really am liking this. And then there's the part of me that's not quite as happy with it. But so it's interesting. Do I want to change where I am? I don't know.
Right. But you've also been doing a lot of work to get comfortable with being with yourself and in that silence.
Yes.
And many people haven't. And so that can be much more uncomfortable. And some people withdraw into the silence instead of balancing that with being out and social and getting that contact they need. So it's finding a balance that's right for yourself. Anyone else?
This is Joanne. I think I found that balance. I don't always get to do it the way I want, but I love silence sometimes, and I love to be around people sometimes. But I do need the silence to rejuvenate, and I have to have some silent time or I go nuts.
Right.
But then there's times when, I have to have the radio on if I'm doing certain things or some sort of noise in the background, just because I think I need some human too. So it's a balance. I have to have it both or I go nuts.
Right. And it's going to be different for each person. Some people are more extroverted and some are more introverted. And so I tend to love socializing, but I really tend to be more of an introvert. And if I don't get my time alone away from all of the noise of everybody else, because I feel all their stuff, I find I can get sick and I can get run down because I'm not balancing that. So being sure that I'm setting my time to have that alone time and my time with other people. And when I'm in that silence, not using the distractions around me. So whether it's even just taking 15 or 20 minutes a day for prayer or contemplation, so you have that time to go within and connect to that, to your heart and to that higher guidance. It may not necessarily need to be more than that. But so thank you for sharing. All right, we're going to do a little exercise here. So I'm going to take my glasses off. So just take 5 to 10 seconds and visually look at your environment and what's surrounding you. And if you have glasses on, take them off because they are going to get in the way. And just sit comfortably and take a few slow, deep breaths. Breathing in and letting it out, and just letting things release. In again and out. So now you want to sit comfortably. We're going to use the palm of our hands. If you want, you can rub them together. We have energy centers, chakras here in our hands where a lot of our energy flows from. So you may or may not be able to feel that. So build up a little bit of heat there if you want, be comfortable. And then we're going to put the palms over our eyes. You can interlace your fingers so they rest over your head, or you can cross your palms like that. And then we're just going to leave your palms over your hands. So your eyes closed, it should be dark. And just continue maintaining that gentle breathing in and out. And become aware of how your eyes feel. Is there any tension there? Or are they relaxed? Do they feel heavy or light? Do they burn or itch? So become aware of what you're feeling. And then focus around your eyes, all those little muscles. There's tons of little muscles controlling the eyes. Can you feel any tension in those? Are you even aware that there's muscles there? As you do that, see if you can just let those relax. And as you breathe, imagine your breathing coming directly into your eyes as you take a breath in. And as you breathe out, let it come out of the eyes. Do 5 breaths. Breathing into the eyes, exhaling out. Breathing in, exhaling out. 2 more times. Breathing in and letting the energy out. Now keeping your eyes closed, just slowly remove your hands from your eyes. And then as you open them, keep a very soft focus. And look around the room again. Take another 3 or 4 breaths. All right, what did you feel? How was that? If you want to let's see if I can, now there's some people that joined us. If I'm unmuting everybody, so if you have noise in the background, you can remute yourself. If anybody would like to share, or if you're still muted and need to be unmuted, raise your hand. That was just a really quick exercise, but how did it feel?
So I'm kind of buzzy right now. That felt incredible. I do a lot of practices to kind of go inward, but that whole aspect of that breathing in to the eyes and exhaling from the eyes, I felt like I could see more light in everything around me afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt an incredible impulse of energy in through my hands, through my whole body, and definitely out through the energy centers in my feet.
Wow, interesting.
So I'm just feeling a little yummy right now. So thank you for that.
Good, good. And did anybody else notice a change in their perception or feel a change in their eyes, especially if you have vision problems? This can be a great healing exercise to do on a regular basis.
Well, I could feel when you talked about breathing in, if you felt any tension, any of the muscles, I became aware of some and breathed into it and then breathing it out. And I noticed it relax and disappear.
Excellent. Yeah. Something so simple, right? And we don't think to take the time and just do this for what that take, a minute or so. And it can have such a profound effect on our well-being. So this is one of the types of self-care practices that we present and are included in my 12 Dimensions of Well-Being program. We have a whole learning portal, and because we forget, we may have been told these things in the past, but we don't always retain everything. So it's nice to have that be given different ways to work with these things. Anyone else?
My left, this is Michael, my left eye that got, banged up feels more relaxed now. So, because I know there was some swelling there. And I'm hearing after that earlier exercise, I'm hearing a lot more inner sound. So it's really
Ah.
ramped up.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. All right. So moving on. Now I'm running probably a little bit late. If everybody's okay with that, we'll get to the healing session shortly. The other dimension I wanted to cover tonight was finding meaning. And this is something that Search for Meaning has been going on. It's a very complex energy output. It involves all of our energy forms. That's what those 12 dimensions are. They're the different ways we process energy coming in and outputting into our lives. So a lot of people questioning, what does it mean? Why am I here? What's it all about? Whether it's conscious or unconscious, we have all these questions and it affects our life and our life activity. So by, again, working with these consciously, bringing them up can help us create a more balanced life and addressing these questions and finding our answers for the moment. Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living. So you can go through life and just go on autopilot. Well, we just got hit upside the head with a 2x4 and now it's like, yeah, you can continue to stay unconscious, or you can say, wait a minute, what's this for? Can I wake up and move forward with this? So in this one, again, on a scale of 0 to 10, how true is this for you? I listen to my own inner guidance in assigning the meaning I bring to my life, because the meaning of our lives is what we've decided it is. It's our perceptions and beliefs. So just note down your number on a scale of 0 to 10. I listen to my own inner guidance in assigning the meaning I bring to my life. And again, if you're happy with what you believe and where you've assigned this meaning, that's great. But are you motivated to keep exploring it? Are you motivated to see if there's a deeper meaning or that there's more going on? Then assess yourself 0 to 10 on that scale of motivation to explore this or make changes and tune into it even on a greater scale. So we are bombarded with messages from all sorts of directions, and we're getting conflicting information. I talked to my family. They totally are, we were raised in a medical family. So what the doctor says is true. He was dad too, so you didn't question him. So if Dr. Fauci is standing up there telling me something is true, tendency is to believe it. But is it really true? What is the agenda behind what he's saying? Are there other alternatives that could be going on? Do I want to question this? And then I can find out the information I need to make an informed decision. And how do I resolve conflicting information or directions and where we're being told we should run how we should run our lives or in what direction we should go. So if we're not connected to our own inner voice and our own wisdom, then we're going to look outside ourselves for someone to tell us what's true and what isn't true, for someone to give us that guidance and be that authority for us, when in reality we need to be our own authorities to comprehend and assign our own meaning to our lives, because nobody else can really do it. Nobody knows what's in your heart. So one of the steps is really accepting your ultimate responsibility, that we are the sole and final authority on answering these questions for ourselves. Nobody else has the answer for us. It can only come from within. But many people are uneasy with that and just want to be told. It's easier some days. Just tell me what I have to do and I'll do it. But that's not taking the self-responsibility. So how can I be the catalyst to explore these questions and create the meaning or uncover my higher purpose for being here and bring that awareness so I can live life more fully and with more joy? So it's only by looking inward past and through all these voices and all this information coming in, and going to that quiet center within us, that we can finally hear what's true in our heart. And that's where I feel we need to go. You can discover that for yourself. So what is that? That's what this dimension is really going and delving and exploring that in much more depth. It's a self-development program. So we'll just go through this quickly. The gratitude journal, finding meaning in our lives. And one way to do that is through gratitude. So just quickly contemplate for a moment 3 things that you either feel gratitude for or blessed by in your life right now. If you want, you can write them down. And everybody should be able to, one, I woke up this morning. I'm grateful for that because it gives me another day to continue working on myself and continue gaining that awareness and deciding, what am I here for? How can I help somebody today? How can I be of service? And that I'm breathing, that we have air to breathe, that I have food on my table. Yes, am I locked in? Am I affected financially by this situation? Yes. But in this moment, I have a home, I have a roof over my head, I have food on the table, I am okay. And that's all we can take. In this moment, I am grateful for those things. I don't know what tomorrow or 2 weeks will bring, but if I continue putting my attention on the gratitude, then I can continue attracting in those things that I want, instead of focusing down that path of, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay the bills? You know, all those come up, and I have to consciously work with those. So as you do this exercise over the next few weeks, if you so choose, write it down in your journal every day, bringing it out and putting it and manifesting it into reality, and see if it starts to affect how you're thinking and your mental habits. Are you looking for a little more of the bright side versus some of the pessimism and negativity that's being thrown at us a lot? Is it starting to balance that out? So that's a great tool we can use. So we're going to go into doing a healing session. So for this, again, let me see here. Trying to manage all these. If anyone has access to the chat box and has a question before I start, just raise your hand if you can. I don't see raise hand. I'm assuming you have raise hand on your, if you click on participants. Otherwise, I'm just going to go right into the healing session, and then afterwards I will open it up for feedback. So I've talked about this for those who are new. You may not be familiar. I love the sing Hue. Hue is an ancient name for God. It is the sound of soul. It is a sound that opens the heart to allow divine love to come in, to help me focus inward and listen to my inner wisdom, my higher guidance, however we connect our spiritual guidance, our spiritual masters, whoever that is, your guardian angels. It's mostly putting me into a space of calm so I can receive and hear what I need to know. So in taking a few deep breaths, again, and then the next 3, we're going to sing Hue on the exhale. So you breathe in. You're welcome to join me or just listen to the sounds in your environment. They all reverberate with the hue. Let it carry you into that sacred inner space, safe space. And from that space, we're going to embark on a journey. Travel down a short path. You may feel the sunshine, hear the birds, maybe trees and flowers, whatever's appropriate for you. And we're going to continue following the path. You may hear some water running in the distance, a stream perhaps. Continue walking. It opens up into a beautiful meadow. And there you're greeted by a spiritual master, your spirit guide, to take you on the rest of this journey of healing. You may travel along by the stream. And now the path starts to climb up. Coming to the side of a mountain. As we go up this mountain path, you notice, it becomes very narrow. Hard to keep your footing. So you take the hand, if you want, of your guide and you ask, what is this fear? What am I afraid of here? And you just let that fear release. Whether it's a thought pattern, an emotional fear of the current situation, as you surrender that, you feel that peace flowing into your heart. And suddenly you notice the path has widened. It's safe now. You can continue on. I continue climbing up the mountain. And we come to that healing sanctuary. And we approach those white marble steps. And we go up them. The doors open into this beautiful lit space. And you just hear this beautiful music playing. And you're guided back to the healing sanctuary. If you wish, you can lie down on the table or sit in the chair, wherever feels comfortable for you. This is a place where you can release everything that is no longer serving your highest good. You can ask questions. If you don't know your purpose or you're looking for a deeper meaning, this is the place to do that. And we'll be clearing out that which is in the way of you receiving any answers. And while this is happening, we're going to be silent for a little while. The beautiful healing energies of the rainbow are swirling through. The sound is uplifting you. And we're just going to let you experience that healing now. Surrender and let go. Inhaling the loving energy and light. Raising the vibration of every cell in your body. You may even feel like you're floating off the table. Be open to receiving any answers or gifts. Find yourself back on the table if you've left it. And it's time to get up. Thank those that were there to help you with the healing and are escorted back out to the stone marble steps. Bringing all that peace, that calm, that loving energy with you as you come back into your space. Just take a few deep breaths. All right, I am unmuting everyone. So if there's anyone who wants to share or has any questions, how was that? So again, you can go to that temple within, that sacred space. It's a great place to go for healing, to release what you don't need. I love to use the hue because that helps me with releasing. The colors of the rainbow, as Barbara knows, are very uplifting. Whatever you need.
Well, and Maureen, I'm trying to get back in my body after that. It was amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it takes some time to integrate back in.
Yes.
Yes, Dr. Maureen, thank you again. Your healing energy meditations are always so profound and peaceful, but there was something really incredible that just really anchored in for me, and I'm definitely going to have to take some time to explore that more and enjoy what that was really showing me. So thank you.
Right, and it's important to a lot happens in that little bit of space, and so as that energy is shifting and moving, it takes time to process down through the physical body. So be gentle with yourself tonight and tomorrow and let that work its way through. And pay attention and take notes of something you may perceive a little differently in your life, or an answer or question. It may not have come during this contemplation, but it may come to you in another moment in that silence. So thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Maureen.
You're welcome. All right, got a few more slides here. So really important in this time, because of the stress, because of the stories we're being told, because of the fear that's being generated, to really take the time to do these exercises and fortify yourself and strengthen your immune system. So our lifestyle choices are really important. You know, the foods we're eating, that we're getting movement, you know, we're being told to stay inside. Well, this goes against everything. We need fresh air. We need movement. We need sunlight. That's what keeps us healthy. By putting these masks on our face, we're preventing ourselves from breathing fully and from getting that fresh air as best we can in. So we have to be conscious of other people and their needs and their concerns when we're out at the store and in public. But as much as you can, get as much fresh air as you can, and choose the healthier lifestyle choices. Take that time to go within. So find your balance there. Just doing this for 15 minutes and taking this time to do that inner work in healing is extremely beneficial in strengthening and boosting your immune system, bringing up your awareness, and helping you discriminate what's truth, what's not truth, what's their story, what's your story, and where does the truth lie? Because we all tell ourselves stories. That's how we create the meaning of our life. And we want to get that more in alignment with our true higher nature, our spiritual self. So, and I've mentioned before, the high doses of vitamin C, vitamin D, selenium, and zinc are really enough to keep you healthy. Probably everybody on the planet's already been exposed to COVID-19. I think it was here because it's more than a virus. There's something else going on. I don't yet have a full understanding of it, but we can keep ourselves healthy. And then I think these next 3 to 4 months are crucial for how we are going to create our future. And if we're not doing this self-work and not taking the time to go in and really start developing this deeper awareness of what's real and what isn't real, what have we been told? I mean, you know, are we going to take that self-responsibility to discover the truth for ourselves? And how are we functioning in each of our core energy input and output systems? Then if we're not doing that work, we are going to be one that is looking to the authorities to help us. And unfortunately, they do not have our best interest at heart. There are other, let's say entities, people that have other agendas, and there's a lot of greed and money and negativity, and we don't want to engage in that. I don't want it to be part of my world. So we have to do this self-work. And right now is a critical point. Some people call it a pivot point, but it's a critical point in what we are going to choose. Are we going to take this step up in consciousness as a planet, this initiation into a greater state of awareness? Or are we going to fall back down into that unconscious state and let other people determine what our lives are going to look like? Because just watching the information about Disney, you know, I didn't realize we talk about lemmings, and are you just a lemming? And when they get overpopulated, the concept was that they jump over the cliff and commit suicide. I took that as a real fact. And in reality, when I researched it, what I found out was in the movie made by Disney, they wanted more impact in this movie. And lemmings, these rodents, when they get overpopulated, they actually, a bunch of them separate and go off and form their own colony. So they don't jump off cliffs of their own. They aren't self-destructive. And in the movie, they were being driven by men, whoever was in there, to push them off the cliff, to make it look like they were committing suicide in order to, for the survival of the colony. So what are we truly believing? Am I a lemming that's being told that my job is to not continue existing or to do a certain thing because that's what I'm being pushed towards? Or am I going to take that self-responsibility, discover the truth, and go off and create what I need to create for my life? doing the 12 dimensions of well-being program is a way to really delve deeper into it. It's part of the reason I'm here, is to help people heal all this old trauma beliefs, systems that have made us sick, so that we can rise up, really, and become who we were meant to be. So the first step you can take, whether you want to participate in the program or not, you have to know where you're at. What's your current state? Go onto my website, drmaureen.us, and take the free self-assessment. Look at all 12 of these dimensions so you can start to look at, where am I at, and where do I want to start working? Because if we're not motivated to change an area or to delve deeper into it, we're not going to. So please go use that free tool. And then the next step would be to schedule a clarity session with me, because I'd love to sit down and talk to you about where you're at, give you some ideas and thoughts about how you can work with those 1 or 2 dimensions that you're ready to move forward with right now, that you want to make changes in. And that's at drmaureen.us/clarity. And then for those who are really ready, they want to take this deeper dive and join me in the pool, and of the pool of greater awareness and consciousness, so that we can create the world we want. We can be the change to bring in the love and the light. But if we have to start with ourselves, then I'd love to have you join me on the program so we can take this for 14 weeks. And this is that time period that is really crucial for us to make these changes so that we end up where we want the world to be, not where the world is trying to take us now, which is separation and disempowering. So go to drmaureen.us/empower if you're ready to take that step now. But I really, if you have any questions, any concerns, definitely I'm here to talk with you and answer them. I'm going to continue as need be these calls and helping people and doing the healing sessions, because we all need this love and support during this time. And I think that's why I've been put on this earth. So please, if you have any questions, I'm trying to unmute everyone. So if you aren't getting unmuted or you don't want to be unmuted, mute yourself back. But anyone have any thoughts, any questions? I thank you all for your participation, for being here. Take that beautiful healing energy with you tonight. Pay attention to your dreams. Maybe keep a journal by your bed. You never know what might pop up.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You are welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Maureen.
Thank you, Dr. Maureen.
Thank you to everyone on the call this evening as well,
Yeah.
and bringing your own light to this.